This is my cousin Tess. She's 8 years old and falls under the autism spectrum. Her type of autism used to be referred to as Asperger's or Asperger's syndrome. Intellectual ability and strong verbal language skills distinguish Asperger's syndrome from other forms of autism. People with this autism often also experience anxiety and anger attacks. Ever since my cousin was little, we had a special connection. When I would arrive at her house, she would jump up, climb onto my shoulders, and hug me very tightly. We would spend hours just in her room, playing with dolls, doing each other's makeup. She's a very sweet girl. But every year, I see her anger attacks getting worse and worse, and it's very difficult for her and her family. To get away from all the busyness and all the impulses, she often spends weekends or a couple of days at my grandparents', who live in a quiet farmer's village. When Tess and I are spending time with my grandparents, we like to go on bike rides. One day, when going around the village, we passed 2 horses, and Tess wanted to go and pet them so badly, but they were on a big field that we weren't allowed to go on. You could only pet them if the horses got close enough to the fence. So Tess stepped towards the fence and reached out her hand to pet the horses, and both horses leaned over and let her pet them. She wanted to spend hours here, feeding them grass, giving them water, scratching their backs and bellies. But after a really long time, I eventually convinced her to go back to my grandparents. And on our way back, we passed a group of cows. Now again, Tess wanted to go and pet them. Although this time I was a little bit more scared because she's only about this tall and the cows are about this tall, and there are about 50 of them. But Tess is very stubborn, so she walked really close to the cows, and the entire group of cows walked over to this little girl. And I witnessed this moment and realized that there must be a connection between animals and humans. Now, my whole life, I have always been surrounded by animals. We had many pets at my house. At one point, we had 5 dogs. Then one of them gave birth to 10 puppies, so we had 15 dogs. We also had 4 cats, 4 rabbits, 6 land turtles, 10 chickens, 2 roosters, and so many fish. On the other side of the fence, there was an ostrich farm. Not only did they have ostriches, but they had emus, sheep, goats, crocodiles, parrots, river turtles, and who knows what else. My foster brother also had a donkey, so we had a donkey coming by our house all the time. Even on holidays, I would find some way to an animal. When I was 3 years old, I visited Machu Picchu, one of the 7 world wonders. Yet, I was more interested in the llama. Then at 9 years old, I herded alpacas with my dad and the local people of Bolivia. Then before coming to Bali, on my neighboring island Bonaire, we visited a donkey sanctuary, and all the donkeys ran up to me. So I was always around animals. Then after witnessing the encounter Tess had with those 2 horses, I started doing research about them. I read lots of articles, watched a lot of documentaries, and read so many boring scientific papers. But I found that animals are more than just pets. Animals have many benefits to humans. When an autistic kid, like my cousin, for example, is surrounded by an animal, their oxytocin levels increase. Oxytocin is often referred to as the love hormone, and it plays a big role in social bonding. Recent studies have shown that oxytocin can help kids with autism interact better with their peers, which is usually quite difficult for them. An animal can also help an autistic child focus. Triggering noises that don't trigger most kids often trigger autistic kids. Noises of, for example, running water, the washing machine, or something cooking in the kitchen. I noticed this with Tess as well, and she often wears headphones to cancel out those triggering sounds. Now, I believe that an animal can help steer away from the focus of those outside triggers and help an autistic child be at peace with an animal. Like my cousin was able to spend a long time with those 2 horses. Not only do animals such as dogs help kids with autism feel more empathy, but they can help adults as well. Dogs that have been through traumas and are sentenced to be killed can be sent to programs such as TAILS. This stands for Teaching Animals and Inmates Life Skills. In this program, 2 inmates partner up with a dog that has behavioral issues. One of the inmates will be the handler, and the other will be the trainer. They both will spend the same amount of time with the dog, although the trainer is usually more experienced. The dogs cause for a more relaxed atmosphere in the entire prison and more peace between the inmates and the guards. Most of the dogs also come from broken backgrounds, so the inmates can see themselves in the dog, creating an even stronger connection. And most inmates have never experienced unconditional love until they are paired with their dog, who depends on them to survive. This is a beautiful program because not only does the human benefit from the animal, but the animal benefits from the human. A really interesting study done in 2017 followed men and women in Sweden from the ages of 40 to 80 for 12 years. They studied their health records based on whether or not they had a dog. And they found that single people with a dog had a 33% chance of living longer lives than single people without one. They also found that the risk of heart attacks decreased by 11%. In another study done with 2,000 adults, showed that people with a pet were more likely to go outside and exercise and had a lower chance of being obese. People that get more exercise have more endorphins released. Endorphins cause for a positive feeling in the body and can act as painkillers, but unlike morphine, it is not addictive. Endorphin lowers the chances of depression and therefore increases the physical and mental health of adults with pets. There's been a lot of research done that shows that classroom pets are not just for fun. In another study done in 2017, published by the American Educational Research Association, showed the 3 impacts classroom pets had on students. The first impact was behavioral. Students were more likely to focus on tasks, had less emotional outbursts, and there were more positive behaviors all around. The second change was socially. When a dog was present in the classroom, students suddenly became nicer to each other, creating a more social environment. The third change was attitude improvement. Students' attitude towards school improved and they became more respectful, responsible, and empathetic. Here at Green School, we promote sustainability and interaction with animals, especially on our website. In the Green School video, cows are walking freely and there are snakes in the classroom, and there are so many moments of interaction with animals. So as you might be able to imagine, when I first came to Green School 5 years ago and realized that our interaction with animals is actually very limited, I was very disappointed. The amount of time I have spent surrounded by animals has actually reduced since coming to Green School. On a normal day at Green School, students barely go down to the cows, pigs, chickens, or any of the other animals on campus. And during my time here in high school, I have rarely seen biology classes with a focus on animals. Because of the lack of education surrounding animals, there are some opportunities that I might have missed. For example, if I wanted to study something related to marine biology, I wouldn't have any of the knowledge I would need beforehand. Even though we actually have 3 teachers at this school who have studied marine biology in the past, and so many teachers who have worked with animals before. Yet we barely have classes based around the subject. We talk about being vegetarian, we talk about saving the animals and the environment. But I doubt that there are many high school students that know what a snake looks like from the inside, or can identify the different species. I recently went on a trip to Kalimantan. We went to the Borneo Nature Foundation camp in the Sebangau Forest in central Kalimantan. We had a really amazing experience there. And during our goodbye circle, many students mentioned that they'd learned more about animals and the environment the past 5 days of being there than they had the past 3 weeks preparing for the trip. This shows that when you're learning about animals, you retain much more information if you actually work with them and see them. Now I know there's a lot of kerfuffle here at Green School about having animals on campus. But when kids learn about something, they become less scared. And if we do not teach kids about animals, how can we expect them to want to save them or to have that beautiful connection with them that I saw with my cousin? So to work towards my goal, I collaborated with grade 2 and grade 3. I took grade 3 students in groups of 4 down to see the cows, pigs, and chickens. I would prepare myself for the visit by doing some research about the animals before I went to their classroom. And when I arrived at their class, they weren't so sure what was going on and didn't really want to leave their class. But when I told them we were going to visit the animals, they got so excited. One of the girls was too scared to hold the chicken, but with some encouragement from her peers, she eventually held it. And when 30 minutes had passed and I told them we had to go back to the classroom, none of them wanted to go, even the little girl who was too scared in the beginning. The grade 2 teacher let me work with 3 very active boys because they wanted to create a dog translator. They wanted to create a machine that would translate dog barks into English words. They didn't create a dog translator, but they made a really amazing showcase that showed the different behaviors and emotions dogs can have. And they even let people listen to the recordings of their own dogs. I helped them with this, and it was amazing to see how interested these kids were into learning about the animals they had at home. I love the curiosity that these visits to the animals would spark in the kids. And I think it's important for the development and growth of our school to include animals into our education. I mean, we literally learn in a jungle. We should take advantage of that. That's why I'm so happy to have heard that classes involving animals will be implemented into primary school as of next year. This is an amazing start, and I hope this will also be implemented into middle and high school, because just like Steve Irwin said, I believe that the time has come where if we don't get animals into our hearts, they're going to go extinct. We are running out of time right now. Thank you.